I need to first, before we even get started, I need to make sure that I have the right levels. So if you could, can you please just tell me your name and the group you're with?
My name is Chrisley Carpio, and I'm with Students for a Democratic Society in the Tampa Bay area.
And do you have a position with them?
I guess you could call me a lead organizer.
Okay, good. It's kind of awkward that I can't see you very well.
That's okay.
Okay. Well, let's begin with the first question I want to get is tell our listeners a little bit of background. What are CENTCOM and SOUTHCOM?
So CENTCOM and SOUTHCOM are essentially abbreviations for U.S. Central Command and U.S. Southern Command, which are, I guess, just to put it in layman's terms, just wings of like the U.S. Armed Forces. And U.S. Central Command is in charge of Middle East operations, and U.S. Southern Command is in charge of operations in Latin America.
What's the relationship between the University of South Florida and U.S. SOUTHCOM and U.S. CENTCOM?
So one thing that SDS discovered recently was that USF has signed memorandums of understanding, that's the term for these documents, with both of these entities. And an inspection, I mean, the documents are pretty straightforward. They allow speakers, they allow the right to reserve rooms, they allow just all sorts of space on campus for these groups to propagate. And we don't think that that's correct. We think that the university should not be complicit in the crimes of U.S. Central Command and U.S. Southern Command.
And you've taken it upon yourself that you want to end these relationships. How do you plan to do that?
Yes, absolutely. So there is a clause at the end of both memorandums that says this agreement can be revoked. And the memorandums describe kind of a process in it, but we believe that applying public pressure inside of SDS and then with the other groups that we're working with will, facilitate this process. We will, use the power of the people to kind of push this issue forward. And we plan to do that. Well, actually, 4 o'clock we're having a press conference, and it'll be later today on campus in front of Cooper Hall for people who are interested. And we'll be announcing our campaign to do this for however long it takes. We are engaging in weekly counter recruitment. We actually did our first round yesterday. And we're going to be also having a protest, specifically a die-in, at the Board of Trustees meeting on December 4th.
Your press release says that's at 10 in the morning, and that's at the first floor of the Marshall Student Center.
We actually changed the time recently, I'm sorry, but it's 9 a.m. and because that's right before the meeting starts. But yes, you're correct about the location. The stairs, first floor, Marshall Student Center.
What is counter recruitment, and how did that action go yesterday?
So counter recruitment is essentially finding where the military recruits on campus and then kind of giving out like flyers, materials, literature, exposing the military and its war crimes internationally, reasons not to join, just doing the opposite of military recruitment. And I think it went well. The students who came out with us enjoyed it. I think we got coverage from the Tampa Tribune, or at least we had a journalist present. And the military recruiters looked uncomfortable, to say the least.
There's a lot of support in this community for MacDill Air Force Base and those two command centers that are based there. How do you counter that support? I mean, there are people who say there are jobs in the community created by MacDill and by SOUTHCOM and CENTCOM, and we like it here. We like that there's federal money coming to the Tampa Bay area. What's your response to those potential criticisms of what you might be doing?
I think those criticisms need to be kind of like compared with, or at least like supplemented by an understanding of what these forces do overseas. Like kind of mentioning the fact that U.S. Central Command was involved with, the unjust Iraq invasion and, is still participating in the war in Afghanistan, and U.S. Southern Command are in charge of Guantanamo Bay Prison. Those are atrocious things that, civilians might realize don't outweigh, the benefits of having federal money coming into the city. And I think too that, like SDS, supports the people who are being oppressed by these wars, but we also support the well-being of the troops. And we support the fact that, lots of veterans come back with PTSD. We acknowledge, we don't support that, but I mean, we understand that a lot of them come back with PTSD. A lot of them, come back with all sorts of mental illnesses. And we don't think this is, an appropriate thing for, this is an appropriate thing for civilians to be doing. We don't think it's a thing students should be involved in. We don't think it's a thing that should be condoned. It harms people who are involved in it and who are hurt outside of it, and we want it to end.
Outside of the United States, especially in places like Southwest Asia, the wars that the U.S. CENTCOM is commanding are pretty unpopular. Could having CENTCOM in Tampa, could that be a danger to Tampa residents?
I do believe so. I mean, at the very least, it makes the institutions that we're supposed to trust kind of complicit in, these war crimes that that civilians aren't even being told about. They're not even being, told the truth about what U.S. Central Command does. And I think that, a lot of the motives for these wars are, very much driven by, U.S. domination of these regions, the Middle East, for its resources, whether that be oil or other resources. We definitely know that's the case with U.S. Southern Command in Latin America for all of its natural resources there. And I think that that's just a thing that, people don't necessarily know, that these wars aren't driven by, threats to, Americans or people overseas, but they're driven by, a profit motive. And we think that the more people understand the nature of these wars, the more they'll understand that the cost of being involved in them far outweighs, the supposed benefits of being them themselves.
Those are my only questions. Is there anything else our listeners should know about your campaign?
Well, we have a Facebook group, so if people are interested in finding out more events that we're planning to have, they can find us on Facebook as Tampa Bay Students for Democratic Society, and hopefully, we get a message or two. But thank you very much. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Yay, thank you.